Yeah, it's Will and Audra, we in this to stay. Ball python life, watch us lead the way. Climbing year by year, bringing our best, creating content, man we never rest. Started from the ground, now we making a name. In the ball python game, we in for fame. Bridging gaps for the new and the vets. Mentoring the fam, gotta place your bets. Educating the masses, spread the knowledge for real. Each scale tells a story, that's the deal. Not perfect.
Get yours today.
Let's go. What's going on, everybody? I literally just jumped on, but we are ready to rock and roll. What's going on, Darren? I didn't even get a second to chop it up with you either. You know, what's going on over there on the West Coast?
Yeah, man. I don't know why all of a sudden once we go live, it like you cut it in and out for me.
That's weird. That's weird. That's so weird because everybody else, they say, you know.
Now you're good. Now you're good.
Good.
But it was
hit that like
right
button,
there.
Man. The last live we went, man, it went through the roof, man. I don't know whether it was the algorithm or what. So we greatly appreciate everybody in the comments. Share this video. The whole purpose behind having this live bi-weekly is to be consistent, which I feel we truly have been consistent over 2 years now doing it, which is crazy. So hit that like button.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. Super chat if you want. You don't have to. Join the membership here under the brand, the Flawless brand. You can support even if
Show
you
the
don't.
love. Show the love.
Come on through. We got some cool giveaways coming up. I don't even want to kind of throw any sneak peeks out there yet because it's literally going to be mind-blowing. But happy to have people of all levels, beginners, people that are just interested in ball pythons viewing, as well as experienced breeders. Even occasionally we have Limey stop through it. He like a dinosaur. So that's really cool as well. Today's episode gonna be really cool because we got Jeremy. Jeremy is a true friend, number one, but he's a true entrepreneur. This man has so many different hats that he wears in the industry when it comes to, bringing in revenue for himself, bringing in revenue for others when it comes to helping others with promotion, whether it's vending shows or helping mentor other breeders alike, but as well as US ARK and the journey he kind of embarked on as far as that goes. We're gonna bring him on. He's gonna tell his whole story, and we're gonna pick his brain. So you guys keep popping the comments and questions in. I'm going to take note of them and give you guys shout outs at the same time. I don't want to occupy too much of his time. We're probably going to limit it to right around an hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half max. But we do really appreciate you sharing this live as well as hitting that thumbs up button, and subscribing if if you're not subscribed here. But here comes Brassman. Let's do it. What's good, man?
What's going on, guys?
You know what? I think your biggest flex is doing a song with Tyrese. That's the biggest flex. Hey, man, because you got to remember the first time I ever seen Tyrese was Always Coca-Cola.
Oh, yeah.
It was me. I was like, this dude doing a song with Tyrese. Like, what?
Yeah,
real life rock star, baby.
That was a crazy setup. So I worked on almost half that record. And I got that call here in the snake room. I was literally cleaning colubrids, and his music director, Brandon Hodge, or Bam, hit me up. I worked with him a couple of times in the past, but we hadn't spoken in years. And he hit me up and he was like, "Man, you're in North Carolina, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "How far are you from Atlanta?" I was like, maybe 3 hours, 3.5 hours. And he was like, "How fast could you get here?" And I was like, "I'm supposed to be there on Monday, bro. It's Friday night. I'm supposed to be there on Monday." He was like, "Bet, I need horns on a project. Can you come through Monday?" And I was like, "Sure. Who we working with? Like, what's the deal?" And
Yeah.
I just one word, Tyrese. And I was like, "Oh, we in there. Let's go."
He said,
Wow.
I'm doing it. I'll be
Now,
there.
how long have you been playing?
Man, I started playing. It'll be 22 years this year.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I started when I was 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, you're getting
Yeah,
old, man.
yeah. Shut up, bro. Shut up.
Jeez, no, I'm just messing
Yeah,
with
no, I mean it's crazy, man. Like if you told 11-year-old me that I was gonna work on a record with Tyrese, I would have been like, yeah, you out of your damn mind, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm grateful, man. I didn't even expect to take music into a full-time career.
Right.
That was originally never the plan. My plan was actually to go to college for biology and go that route.
Right.
And what changed that trajectory was I had a really strong connection to the University of Massachusetts. I was friends with a lot of professors in the music department and whatever. So I went to take a tour of the college and I got the chance to meet Dr. Alan Richmond, who was the professor of herpetology at the time. I don't think he still is. But side note, it was also Jeff Corwin's herpetology professor because Jeff went to the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Um, so I got the chance to go see the herpetology department, see all the cool snakes that were on the campus, and he was asking me what I kept and what I worked with. And at the end of that conversation, he was like, "I'm going to tell you right now, man. There's nothing that you're going to learn in my class."
Hmm.
And I was like, I beg to differ, sir. But okay, I was like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you keep more than what we have access to here. You've had
Right.
hands-on experience for many years beforehand.
Yep.
He's like, the only benefit you'll get out of my class is field research. And
Mhm.
if you want to be going out in the field trying to chase government money to research snakes, you're going to be chasing money for the next 30, 40, 50 years.
Right.
And if that's not what you want to do, then don't. Then simply
Yeah.
just don't, and unless you want to teach, like that's your only other outlet is if you want to teach biology, then great. But then you just spent all this time playing with snakes. You didn't need to come here for that. And I
Right.
was like, you're not wrong. Like
Yeah.
I can't be mad at you for that. So that conversation is what changed my direction to end up pursuing music instead of going the biology route. So not what I was anticipating out of my life, but let's go for it.
But I mean, did you really expect any of what you're doing as far as the music side, US ARK, Brassman, Reptiles? I mean, you're doing so many different things. Even now, did you
Yeah.
expect to be at this level?
No, in any element of it. So musically, definitely not. After I came back from college, I started teaching. Ironically, I
Mhm.
didn't want to teach, but I ended up teaching for almost 10 years,
Oh wow.
um, teaching music, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. But after a while, I was like, I'm kind of over these kids, man. We got to do something else, bro. Like, that's a wrap. Um, so that's when I went up to nerd. But before then, in 2007 is when I started. Yeah, is when I started my original company. It was called J&D Reptiles, stood for Jungle and Desert Reptiles.
Okay.
And so it was when I was in high school. 2007 was my freshman year of high school. So I was breeding snakes, I was breeding lizards, I was selling them locally, doing shows, whatever. And ran that all the way through into my first semester in college. And the person that was working with me at the time was a close friend of mine who ended up screwing me and cost me that entire business.
Wow.
And at that time, um, I had pastel double het lightning pieds and all this stuff. Like back then, I was on the trajectory to actually move, in a really massive direction for that, and lost all of it.
Now, was it
Um,
like screwed on a partnership, or was it? You don't have to go into details of the person, but like, was it just they weren't kind of holding their own weight with the business, or like what aspects of
no,
it?
basically what it was they wanted to invest in the business
Right.
and get some animals, maybe upgrade some caging for what we were doing. And I was like, we can certainly do that. I'll draw up some contracts and we can, have everything legit and whatever. And in their haste, they bought an animal without me knowing, and it came in as an adult that was sick, and he just started
No.
pairing it to my stuff without me knowing. And suddenly I started getting messages. I had one other friend who would help during the week, because so I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, which is about 90 minutes away from my childhood home. So I was
Right.
home usually every weekend.
Mhm.
Um, so I had one other friend that would go by and help during the week just to make sure that everything had water, just quick spot checks throughout the week.
Right.
And I was getting text messages like, "Hey, I think this snake might have a respiratory infection. You should check this out. You should check this out, blah, blah, blah." And when it jumped to babies, that's when I knew there was a serious problem.
Mhm.
Getting we've all heard the stuff from back in the day. Yeah, you get animals that go through a breeding season, you cool them down, and they pop up with an RI and blah blah blah. So in my brain, I had a really tight connection with my local vet, so I was like, cool, I'll get some Baytril or ceftazidime, and we'll take care of it. No big deal. None of it worked, and then the babies got hit, and I was like, what the hell is going on?
Mm.
Um, dude, I lost like spinner blast het pides and like all this crazy stuff from like the early 2000s. So we're
Right.
talking
Yeah.
about like substantial investment, quality stuff. Like I think I had traded Kevin $30,000 worth of reticulated pythons to get certain things. Like like I wasn't messing around. Like this is what I
Right.
Yeah.
was, this is what I was doing. Um, so stuff basically it became a whole big thing, of course. Now I would argue to say that it was nidovirus, but
Hmm.
back then, 20
Yeah.
years
Nobody knew.
ago, nidovirus hadn't even been identified. It was
Right.
Yeah.
just the super aggressive respiratory infection.
Mhm.
And that's all we knew it as. So that took me out completely because I was like, I can't recover from this. It cost me probably $80,000 worth of animals.
Whoo, and then oh man, the early 2000s, that's like
Yeah. Yep. So,
Woo.
so that's like the
130
beginning
grand
of the
now.
2010s. That's the beginning of the 2010s. So I'm like, I'm done, dude. I'm like,
Right.
I'm in college now. I can't start
Mhm.
throwing money back into this. I don't have that time, that luxury. Um, so that was it. I stepped back for a couple of years. Finished my time at college. I didn't get my degree. I stayed for like a year and a half, moved back home, started teaching. Once I had the stable teaching gig and had good money coming in, I was like, all right, I kind of want to do the snake thing again.
Mhm.
Um, and started to slowly kind of get back into it. And then built up a little bit of a collection. And it was 2016. Yeah, 2016 Tinley. I was bidding on an animal at a US ARK auction and won the animal. And Phil knew I played trumpet. So when I won the animal, he was like, sold, thank you, Brass Man. And that's where the Brass Man name came from. And it just kind of stuck. It just stuck
That's
after that.
cool.
So,
Yeah.
so
Um, we're gonna
The
spin that
industry gave you your
for
name. That's I mean, that's the
exactly.
best way to take it.
Yeah,
it's,
right.
it's another thing I want to touch on right here before we even dig into nerd.
Yep.
But to touch on it right before digging into that journey, I think it'll be helpful for everyone listening. If you can kind of tell your experience on dealing with like one of the big dogs in the industry, right? And we all know, or we should know, that you worked there at one point, then you separated, but now you still have a relationship there
Yep.
as well. So how did you go about kind of navigating your way into nerd, your kind of pathway out of nerd, and how you've established kind of still having a relationship? Because as I know, you see a lot of people that either do business together, work for each other, they fall out, they're like arch nemesis now, they're at odds. So I think part of our commitment to the community being new and not getting involved in any drama is kind of sharing some stories like yours on how other people can hopefully navigate the journey.
Yeah, for sure. So getting involved with nerd at all literally it goes back to my early teenage years. I had people in the area who knew that I was into ball pythons and had a friend of mine from the Boston area who was like, you got to meet this guy, Kevin McCurley. And, you know, back then I didn't really know who Kevin was. I was still kind of just like, I was still wet around the ears, just trying to learn as much as possible. So I was like, who the hell is that? And he's like,
Right.
the ball python guy. What are you talking about? You know? So he got me scheduled up for my first private tour at the facility. And that's where I met Kevin. And I went up a couple more times and finally got the chance to actually speak to him. And I think that initially Kevin just thought I was some other annoying kid that was here to waste his staff members' time and ask BS questions and whatever. But I went there and I was like, I need to ask you a genetics question. And he was like, yeah, okay. What do you, spider is dominant, you little idiot, you know, like something stupid, you know?
Right.
And I was like, man, I see all this hidden gene Woma stuff on your website and everything's hidden gene Woma granite. I know granite's a separate gene. How do you distinguish the two? Because I don't know what the hell you're looking at.
Right.
And so he grabbed me by the arm, brought me into the ball python breeding room, and he pulls out like just a pastel hidden gene Woma granite. And he's like, you see that dot? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, that's granite. And I was like, you're out of your mind. You know? Like, you're freaking stupid. You know? And look, I think, hang on, let's see, because I'm down here in the same.
So you're out of your mind, buddy.
So he's like, you see this dot? That means it's granite. And I'm like, okay, show me something that's not granite. And he shows me a ball python. So the dot, I know, sorry, sweetie, is right behind the head. You'll see, she is not a fan of me doing this whatsoever. There we go. So right behind the head, you would see a big dot right where the neck stripe is. This animal doesn't have that dot. So that's what he was like, this animal doesn't have granite. And I'm like, there's no freaking, what are you talking about? Like, it's a dot. Like, so thrown off. And I was like, how did the gene get like married? Because everything that you post is hidden gene Woma granite, hidden gene Woma granite, hidden gene Woma granite. But if I had granite in this animal, I guarantee you the pattern would look twice as distorted.
Right.
Because that's how it just interacts with hidden gene Woma. So that was the first time I think Kevin actually took me for real, like actually seriously, you know, because I'm like, I want to understand, dude, you know, like, because I'm scratching my head.
Right.
And after that, that kind of just sparked a friendship. So I used to go up every month and I would just go up for a day. So between 2010 and maybe beginning of 2012, I would say about 90% of the photos that were posted on Nerd social media, I took as I was just going around the facility, because Kevin hated social media. So he would give me the login and be like, you know what people like, take some pictures.
Cool.
That was it. And I was like, cool, man, let's go, you know. So he gave me kind of the keys to the castle there. But that was my initial in with Kevin. Getting the job, I went up to visit him one day. I hadn't been up for a little while. And he was like, are you looking for work? And I was like, this is right around the time I was kind of like, I need a change from teaching. So I was like, actually, maybe, you know, like, what do you need? And he was just kind of like, you know, I need somebody here that, you know, I can really rely on and lean on and to do X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, let me see what I would need to be able to make that doable, you know, because now I'm picking up my entire collection, changing my entire life, you know, to come up here. I was like, if we can come to an agreement there, then great, let's make it happen. So a couple more conversations and we came to an agreement. And the biggest thing for me was, it was like coming to the end of the school year. So I was like, hey, let me finish out the school year with the kids. I don't want to abandon the kids, you know, halfway through the year. So let me finish out the school year and then I'll get everything together and come up. So I moved up in September of, I think it was 2019 or 2018. And that was kind of it. You know, the nice thing for me was having that longevity at Nerd meant all I really needed to do was figure out like where the supply closet was. You know, like I knew the animals, I knew the lay of the land, I knew the genetics, you know, like all that was, I grew up with it, you know, going there every month for years. So that made going to Nerd very easy. One of the things that I said to Kevin was, I was working as a full-time artist and educator. So I was like, I can't give you my life.
Right.
Like, you're not getting that. You're going to get me for a few years.
Right.
And that's, I'm going to be upfront about that. At some point, I'm going to tell you that I'm leaving, and as a musician himself, he was very much like, no, I understand. I don't want to get in the way of your career. I know you went to school for this. I know this is what you want to do. I need somebody here that, I can really count on and rely on to do whatever.
Right.
So that was pretty much how that happened. When I decided it was time for me to leave, it was literally like, hey man, I've got these opportunities. It happened a little sooner than I was initially anticipating. But I was like, I've got these opportunities. I can't pass them up.
Right.
Like I need to actually take this leap of faith. And I could tell that it was upsetting, but I was also like, we had this conversation, like I no, I didn't expect it to be happening 2.5 years later. I expected to be there a little bit longer, but I'm also like, you get lucky based on opportunity, not just
Correct.
based out of something getting thrown your way out of the thin air, So I was like, here's this opportunity. I got to take this chance, and now's the time. And that was just what it was. So,
Right.
Afterwards, of course, there's a little bit of like I hate to see you go, like the awkward goodbyes of friendship tied into like,
Right.
damn, I'm losing a key element in my business. Like that's kind of a bummer. I have to now reassess and try to plan, what that is supposed to look like. And I gave him, I think it was about like a 6-week notice. Like I gave him a lot of time, and I was like, I'll help train whoever you want to bring in as my replacement or whatever. I was like, I don't want to leave you hanging at
Right.
all, and I think that was the most helpful thing in that was I wasn't just like, all right, bro.
I'm out. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, no, I recognize that this is a hardship,
I'm out.
so like, let me help you out, let me do as much as I can. And to that point, the following year, I was flying out once a month to assist in the training of some new hire employees and to make certain things happen because I had that flexibility in my schedule to be able to do so.
Right.
So, because I was like, hey, I want you to succeed, and I want to make sure that you have staff. Like Nerd has always
Yeah.
had staff that knew it, like it was
Mhm.
the hardcore reptile place. And this is going to make me sound old, but I feel like my generation of reptile keeper, especially up in that area, we were the
Right.
last generation of hardcore guys, because then everything started to go to, oh, let's keep less animals in bigger enclosures and bioactive and all this stuff. So it kind of became less about like, well, let's learn everything that we can about all these animals. And it was like, I'm going to tell you 50 facts about a crested gecko.
Right.
And that was kind of it, and that was what we were left with. So, not to dog on the boutique folks or anything
Right.
like that, because there's 100% a place for that. But Nerd was
Absolutely.
always that resource where it was like you could get answers about anything reptile
Right.
related, because
And
Kevin had
it
it all.
doesn't make you sound old. It just make you sound seasoned. You
Yeah,
have
that's
experience.
old, bruh. That's old.
But I want to point out something. So facing, Kevin head on, whether it was something bad or good, I mean, that kind of was the way that you kind of headed off issues, I think, even to this point where, yeah, you're right. All right, yeah, I'm not going to like this, and I got to deal with the result of what's left behind. But
Right.
you made it palatable. You made it, easier to kind of adjust, especially your willingness to work there continuously, sporadically, as things continue as you were needed. Also, I'm probably know the answer of this. I never asked you this though. In working at such a large facility, right?
Yeah.
And now having your own collection, your in-house, your own facility, doesn't it make you kind of indirectly end up keeping more animals than you probably anticipated on keeping?
Yes. Yes, 1,000%. How do you think I got to this crazy point that I'm at now?
Right. You're like, hey, I mean, you should have seen what I had to take care of before.
Yeah.
And I had to leave my home to take care of
Yeah.
that. Now I can, I can go down there at 3 a.m. I can
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah.
I laugh because we do the same thing. We do the same
man.
thing. It's the craziest thing.
It was one of those things where like I was like the status of nerd, right? Even though it's maybe not the same as what it used to be.
Right.
The status of nerd and Kevin and the facility as a whole, like people respected it. So if I would reach out to somebody on an animal that I personally was wanting to inquire about, people knew who I was because of nerd, because they saw me on the YouTube and all that stuff. And without asking, people are like, oh man, well, like, like we'll work on the price, or we'll do better on this, or like I want to make sure that you're happy and whatever. And I'm like, this animal's for me. I'm not gonna go, run back and be like, hey Kevin, these guys are giving us deals. Like I'm not, because I didn't ask for that. I never approached anybody like through nerds accounts or anything like that and was like, I want this for me. I always used my, my personal accounts and whatever. Because I wanted stuff to be for me. Like I enjoy reptiles too, but that was like, oh, you mean I don't have to spend $3,000 for this animal? I only have to spend 12, like that's great. Now I've got an extra $1,800 to go blow on 6 more other animals.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So,
you're closer to that next goal.
Exactly. So it's like now there's a lot more animals, and
definitely, and other species. It's interesting when we sat and actually spoke with, or stood and spoke with Kevin. That was my first time in Tinley actually speaking with him, and at first I'll admit, I was kind of taken back by it and by the entire experience. We did a video on it. I don't remember how long ago, but it was very interesting because he was one of the only people that you saw maneuver through the entire crowd, and he had what I would call, I was in law enforcement, but I would call a handler, where they walk around, hey, we got to move on. So he actually had a handler, and, being a reptile, you're like, this is weird. But I say that because I'll add to the conversation that I see why. I stood there and had a full-blown conversation with him. I'm very observant to when he was talking with other people. I'm very observant of his time and how precious it is. And Audra and myself was at our booth, and Audra was doing her thing. And I'm like, man, this is Kevin. I need to, engage in his brain. And he literally stood there and talked to me about genes, about business plan. At that time, I think he's already announced it, that he was getting out of ball pythons. He told me his direction and why it was important to diversify. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, that us being new, it was my time to listen and take notes. It wasn't my time to, oh, well, we could do it this way. This is the way we're going to approach. No, I'm absorbing information, taking notes, and trying to hopefully learn from something that he has a lot of tenure in. But I thought it was very interesting. He had a handler, he literally stood there for about 35 minutes at our booth. And then his guy's like, hey, we got to go over here. And I'm like, oh, believe me, I understand. No problem. And it was just, he was very human. He was very human, regular person, so I didn't even know we had lost Darren, but he's back. I thought that was really cool that he was able to socialize and move around. But I find it very, on the outside looking in, it has to be impossible to be that man in his brain, because to run a facility, to have all those personal contacts and employees and, schedules and planning and imports and exports and customer base, troubleshooting, customer relations, to have all of that going on, and for you to still find time to get smarter is crazy to me. A lot, and I get it. Everybody to each his own. I'm not here to kick the can down the road. Everyone's gonna have their own personal, connections with everyone. You're gonna have good and bad. We haven't had any bad. Even the one that could have even remotely been bad before we ever met him we ordered from Nerd, and I deem it as a customer service issue that they resolved with no issue. You know, we bought something from them. It was online. We did our due diligence. We called up to the office. I think we spoke to one of the young ladies that was answering phones. She assured me that this was this, blah, 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 blah. It came in. It was completely wrong weight, like off by like 500 grams. Called them up. They said, no problem. Sent me a label, paid for shipping back, returned all the money. Plus, it was zero issues. But some people would have issue with that even after the fact. So it's how you kind of navigate through this whole business world. But I just find it impossible to be him in his skin. That's got to be crazy. That's got to be crazy.
I think it's also important to note, like, if we look at ball pythons in particular, right? The average keeper now maybe has, I'll say, between 250 and 500 ball pythons, right?
Right.
For the most part, like those are pretty average numbers that we seem to see across the board. That was one of 12 rooms of reptiles in that facility.
Yeah, believe.
Yeah. So, and that one room was the breeder room.
What?
So that's like room 11. Now, room 7 is the baby room.
Oh,
one wall of the baby room has almost 1,000 drawers.
Oh my gosh.
That's one wall, guys. One wall. Like, we're not talking about the center aisle. We're not talking about the other wall. Like, we're not talking about any of that.
You know, and did you ever meet Ralphie too?
Yeah.
Because you were around at that time.
Ralphie, yeah.
Yeah, because he was doing a lot of their videos and stuff was on there. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like max capacity of animals, you know, and as you guys know, insane levels of diversity.
Right.
Like, we're not just talking about ball pythons. Like, that was one of the few things, like, myself and Kevin and Rob, we could all talk about pretty much any animal in the building. And we were familiar with all the genetics that were available, or what we knew, how they interacted, all these things. You know, like my most recent visit up that way, here's one of the former staff members, like, brought me a snake and was like, hey, we lost the label on this the other day. Do you think you can help ID it? And like, and then Mark's like, well, don't ask him. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And the staff member was like, no, he can ID everything. Like, you have no idea. You know, but for me, that was like, I always had a really diverse collection growing up. So I was absorbing all that information that was out there. So going to Nerd was just that, you know, times a million, you know, of like, okay, cool. We've got 75 species in 3 rooms, you know, like, here's all the information you need to know about all of this. So if somebody had a question, there's a point person. You could come to me, you could go to Rob. Of course, you could talk to Kevin about it. But yeah, that was that's the other wild point of Nerd. So in moments when something like that happens, where something comes in and it's like, it's not accurate, it's not right, you know, like, I think the one thing that people forget is, like, that level of collection and business, there are so many moving parts. It's inevitable that something falls through the cracks.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
You know, and that, like, your situation honestly was probably a best case situation, and could have, like, in my mind, thinking as if I was back in that seat, would have been like, you know, we can switch out the snakes and get your money back, blah blah blah, or like, hey, actually, I've got this, you know, that's maybe the same thing plus het for something else. You know, like, I'll send you a label, send me that back. I'll send you this, like, we'll make it all, you know, we'll make it better in that regard.
And that's the biggest point, right? You know, mistakes happen no matter how big and small. It's how you deal with it in the aftermath. And, you know, personally, and it's only my personal opinion, a lot of the time, not always, on the customer side of things, we expect a whole heck of a lot. And sometimes it's not very reasonable. You know,
what do you mean? What do you mean you get for 15 pictures of the snake's belly?
Oh goodness. yeah. Now, I will admit, though, after watching and doing research, what I try to kind of pride myself on here is learning from other people's experiences, especially some of the mistakes. And I think I was watching like Triple B TV, and he was mentioning, he was going through people's like random people morph market posts.
Oh yeah, like picture quality and
picture
stuff.
quality. Learned a lot from it. Actually, I sent it over to Darren. I learned a lot from it, and then moving forward, I say, you know what? Moving forward, there will be no more posts where we don't have less than 3 photos. You know, sometimes you get 7 or whatever. You get a very photogenic snake. You know, but you know, taking the one photo and being done, just kind of give them as much as you can in that moment, so you don't have to do the work later. Was very that's what I pulled out of it. Question for you though, in your 20 years of 20 plus years of experience here, could you give some advice to the new breeder that's trying to navigate kind of like today's climate?
If I was talking to a new breeder now trying to navigate today's climate, is probably twofold when it comes to advice there. One, work with what you like. That's like the most important thing. And if you like what's trending, great. If you like something that isn't necessarily trending, great. Do it. Find a way to parallel what you like with what's happening in the market.
Right.
I love Hidden Gene Woma, and people like Antoine shit on me all the time. But, but I still make Hidden Gene Woma combos, and I'm not mad about it because I like it. You know, that's number one. Number two, you have to be willing and able to be in a position to where if something goes wrong, you have to be educated in how you would want the situation to be handled if it was reversed, and B, if you need to be talking about a specific topic, something like a nidovirus or something that, you know, is not as buzzwordy as it was maybe 5 years ago, but it's still something that's very important. You need to educate yourself so that you can cover your own ass, number one, but number two, you need to be able to pass that education along, because one of the biggest things I've learned in this industry over all the years, through all the different iterations, is we like to point fingers when something goes wrong.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes it's from a lack of education, or I mean, sometimes people are just jerks, but sometimes it's a lack of understanding of what's actually going on. And if you can step in that gap to be like, hey, no, I understand this is frustrating. Here's what's actually happening. These are the actual numbers. This is the actual data. And I'm not here to make an excuse. If something went wrong, it needs to be made right 100%. But what is also not okay is for you to fly off the handlebars as the customer maybe going through the situation and being like, without actually having any solid information, you know, like I'm very lucky in the topic of nidovirus. Like, I'm very good friends with Dr. Stephen Tillis, who was one of the forefront researchers of nidovirus. So I was getting info on it like day after it was figured out, kind of thing. And I could reach out to him, you know, every 30 days and say, hey, what else is going on? What else is new? You know, because at that point it was a big point of contention in the industry. So it's like, well, I want to have as much information as possible, because what the numbers are making it seem like is it's something that we all need to be concerned about. So, you know, so that's probably the other side of advice for keepers, is like, it's inevitable. We're working with live animals. We're not working with something sterile that sits on a shelf and you just dust it and make it look pretty and that's it. We're dealing with things that have internal biomes, that deal with, you know, disease and stuff, just like people do. So the more knowledgeable you can be on those situations and how to handle those situations, the better off you're going to be across the board. Because as we all know in business, when things go right, everything's great. But it's how you handle things when they go wrong that sets you apart from everybody else.
Now, in this aspect of the business, when you're, you know, vending or closing your sales, what have you been seeing as far as like firsthand signs of stability in the market?
So that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. So the stability, I should say the highest level of stability that I've seen comes from the trends.
Okay.
When some new trend pops up, we see that market rise to that
Mhm.
occasion and ride it out really well. And things are that terrain changes a bit more volatilely. Like we're seeing like trends change almost every
Oh
week,
yeah.
it seems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do.
So but what I think across the test of time, stability wise, is people want to see cool looking snakes. We're in an era
Yep.
where you can go to Petco and see a banana pied available.
Mhm.
I sure did.
Yep,
I've seen one.
same,
I've seen an
and I
albino pie.
and I cried a little bit, but I still
You
saw
said that cried a little bit.
it. But like people are now able to see that right down the street at their local pet shop.
Right.
So this is where the stability comes in. It's getting them to think, and they're starting to see, oh wait, that's a ball python. The
Mhm.
last time I was here, it was brown and black, and it didn't look appealing to me at all. Where the hell did this
Right.
purple, yellow, and white thing come from? What,
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to look up, crazy ball pythons. And then I find Morph Market, then I find this, then I find that, and I find all these crazy people that keep snakes. That I think is where the stability comes from, because regardless of trends, if you're producing cool snakes, and cool is subjective, right? Cool to
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
could be a bumblebee. Cool
Yeah.
to somebody doesn't need to be a 12 gene
That's
multi-recessive
right.
snake.
Yep.
The animals will still sell. But
And what you pointed out there too, it's two different directions. Just because you're in this direction don't mean everybody needs to agree with what I want. And I actually just had a conversation with actually one of our members here on YouTube. Spoke with them on the phone because they purchased the snake from us earlier in this season. And they sent a message. We're very easy to contact and all that stuff. And they wanted to know, they said, basically the snake they have was a combination visual pie, double head, ultra male, hypo. And they purchased, I believe it was a pastel GHI hypo, double head, ultra male pie, female. So, cool. But the question was off and I had to call them out on that. They said, hey, what do you think of this? And sent me the picture. And it's a cool snake. So I asked them, what do you mean by the question though? Yeah. Are you asking? And so they asked, oh, well, I just want to know your thoughts on it. And I said, be careful with that. And this can go out to everyone. Be careful asking other people their thoughts on something that you want and you like. Because now if I tell you what I think of your purchase, of your likes, aren't you working what I like now? So that's the major thing. You can show off everything that you have, but make sure you be careful with your intellectual property, because it could be kind of skewed and manipulated. We really have to be careful with that.
Yeah, 100%. I think it like I'm all for getting honest feedback.
Yes.
Right. They're like 100%. But if I'm going to invest in myself, then I need my plan, right? And maybe the plan doesn't necessarily need to be, I want to make $30,000 Axanthic DG clowns. That doesn't need to be the plan.
Right.
Because probably by the time you do it, Justin's got 75 others that are already, crushing it. But, so that doesn't need to be the plan. But like, I've got nothing to hide on what's in my rack. So like, I'm working on a candy puzzle project, and I like the candy gene. I like the puzzle gene. I've got some other genes floating around for those combos. It's something I want to do. Is it going to yield me a $10,000 ball python? Probably not.
No. I mean, but you know how cool that's going to probably look, because the live is going to really actually show the colors. It's gonna pop to me in my mind, because I still have candy. I do.
Dude, I mean, like, it's cool. I mean, come on, man. This cinnamon leopard candy is cool, man.
Yeah.
That's a cool ball python.
I just made an ODYB inchy candy this season, and I like it a lot. It's crazy looking, but
Yeah.
that's
Have
me.
you seen a shift in your typical customer? Is your typical customer a pet keeper versus or a breeder or enthusiast is kind of aspiring to be a breeder? Over the years, have you seen that kind of trend in and of itself?
I've definitely, I think the one thing I've seen the most consistently is the pet keeper. Like,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to ball pythons. Because it
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether it's a $10,000 snake on your table or a $20 snake on your table. Ball pythons are just the perfect vehicle. They're the perfect snake to get people into the hobby. It's,
Yes.
and the fact that there are so many colors just keeps people locked in that much more. So pet keeper fundamentally has always been the most consistent across the board.
Mhm.
What I have seen, I'll say since COVID and on, has been that aspiring breeder, has been
Right.
that person that's trying to figure out what the next step is, and they're paying attention to you guys, they're paying attention to
Yeah.
Justin, they're paying attention to the people that are putting out content now
Mhm.
on ball pythons and what's cool, and they're like, oh man, I didn't think you could do that. That looks
Yeah.
wild. Like, this is probably one of my funniest moments while I was at Nerd. When I was still there, that's when we found out clown and cryptic,
Oh,
excuse me,
cryptic.
were
Yeah.
allelic.
Wow.
Kevin started cryptic. That was a
Right.
Nerd gene. He bred it, thought it was going to be codom, hated the fact that it didn't do anything, and sent it all to the bells.
Wow.
So when I saw Billy's video,
Wow.
I ran downstairs and was like, where is Kevin? Like,
Yeah.
you don't freaking understand. And we went through that building and found he had 2 visual cryptics floating around, and he had, I think it was like 6 hets that were just floating around. And I was like, clown, breed them to clown. Just do that. Like, we got to make kryptons. It's cool. And we made Inferno kryptons. We made,
Yeah.
all these, all these crazy, because he had all these cool clown combos that he had been raising up for other projects,
Right.
and it was like, no, breed it into this. Like, we gotta figure that out. But the interesting thing that I learned along the way with that was, because it was this heavily bred initially gene that kind of
Mhm.
went away. If you noticed, people started popping up with kryptons
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
So
I'll show you. That's what I love about being down in the snake room.
yeah.
I got this snake from Matt Garabrandt, or I think I just butchered his name. O'Malley's, when he was still doing ball pythons. This is a super spot nose, Enchi pastel red stripe.
Is it
I
O'Malley's
bred
Morse?
this, huh?
O'Malley's Morse?
Yep.
Yep.
So he sent me this snake. I was like, I'm going to breed that to my Axanthic clown. I just want to make cool spot nose, double het combos, whatever. And then I popped out, out of 7 eggs, I popped out 5 kryptons.
What? That's crazy.
Let's see, where is that? Here's a Enchi red stripe spot nose krypton. That's, of course, 100% het for Axanthic.
Wow.
And like, because I saw that eye stripe and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yep.
it's absolutely ridiculous. So
Accurate. People were hesitant because they didn't know how it worked. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's, and that's totally cool. And of course, you had Sean Bradley had Puzzle floating around it
Mhm.
during all that time and everything, and we're trying to figure all that stuff out.
Let me ask you a question. So
Yeah.
if Justin, if Nerd had it first, right? Mine popped up from Ben Rennick's. I bought an animal from Ben Rennick, and I bred that and ended up making kryptons out of that female. She's Spider. which is crazy. But yeah, she ended up popping out of that for some odd reason. You
Yeah.
know, did he bought a lot of animals from Nerd, you think?
It's quite possible because Kevin knew who Ben was pretty
Yeah.
well. So it's definitely possible because there's stuff there. I had a friend of mine bought a lesser from Kevin, I don't know how many years ago. Raised it. I was never in a rush to breed it. Finally decided to get her up to size and paired it to like a pastel clown thing and hatched out Kryptons. And he hit me up and he's like, "Hey man, I know you used to work at Nerd. I got this snake from Kevin like almost 10 years ago, and I hatched out this weird thing. Like, what is that?" And I'm like, "That's a Krypton." Like, so I think it's 100% possible because you think about those initial hets when Kevin didn't realize it was recessive at first.
Yeah, he
We're
was.
then getting bred around, so those pos hets existed, and just nobody had a thought about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Shout out to
And it's
Leviathan for giving you
Yeah.
a shout out for all the work that you're doing, including the work that you did with the Lacey Act.
Oh,
So,
I definitely appreciate that.
definitely. On that, how did you end up getting in cahoots with US ARK? I guess that's a good way.
Yeah, it's a good way to segue, right?
Yeah.
I'll talk about ball pythons forever. So for me, US ARK, I've been working in some kind of voluntary capacity for US ARK. I probably for like 14 years. So not long before Phil became the president, I was pretty involved in at least like knowing what was going on. And then when Phil took over, I think I met Phil for the first time in 2013 at Daytona, 2013 or 2014. And I had witnessed enough legislatively to be like, whatever is out there that's going to help us fight that needs to be supported.
Right.
And when we saw HR 669 and SB 2811 come through, which was basically U.S. Fish and Wildlife having the ability to basically say anything non-native will now be banned in the United States. Period. This was federal. Everything non-native, once it's dead, that's it. It's gone. That was when I was like, they just showed their hands. They just showed the hand that they were trying to play. And I was like, that was what kicked me into hyperdrive for supporting US ARK and talking about US ARK, because I was like, we literally just witnessed US Fish and Wildlife be like, oh, we don't want it here if it's not from here originally. And I'm like, also, that's a really weird thing for anything in the United States to say.
Now, do you, well, Phil isn't here, obviously, but do you or Phil, have you guys ever had a conversation, or has it ever come up with US ARK? Because it's something that I think about as far as being prior law enforcement. Do you guys ever worry about retaliation, where you're sitting there, you're pushing back against legislature, to the point where congressmen and people like that, and then now you're on the map, like you, the individual. So do you worry about kind of the pushback coming from that?
Personally, no, but we did witness that fear happen in Florida. It was a very real thing in Florida where people wanted to sue Fish and Wildlife, and they all of a sudden inspectors were showing up and were being super stringent on things. They're like, you get a check for this, you check for that. Like, this is bad. I've got friends that lost permits that were permit holders for 15 plus years.
Right.
Or I think that's outside the scope, but like they had their permits for many years.
Yeah.
They were on them. And it's like, had their sales permits from,
now you're a target. Yeah.
Exactly. Correct. So you saw people dropping out of lawsuits because they were like, I don't
want nothing to do with it. Right.
Do my thing, So that was a very real thing. And I think if depending on the situation, I think that that's something that is a genuine fear of people. And when we've seen that retaliation happen, you know, it's a very real concern for folks. And, you know, to that I say, of course, I'm not going to be like, well, you should, you know, give up your business for the greater good. Like, I'm never going to say that. Like, we all do this because we love it. But what I
Right.
will say is, like, you also can't allow yourself to get bullied, because
Right.
it's that effort and intention on our end that's going to make the change in the long run. Because 99% of the time, when we're looking at these pieces of legislation, it's based in botched science, fake numbers, and all this stuff. So when push comes to shove and something actually comes up in court, it's like, you guys saw this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me overlay the map of what it really is. You've been lied to.
Right.
You know, so the other side of that coin, and this isn't specifically at Florida, but we can look at Florida, is the how high up the corruption of it really goes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where people talk about, you know, you've got your people on the board of the Fish and Wildlife Commission that are also land developers and stakeholders in some of these massive things. It's like, how are you protecting the land when you're also trying to purchase it to build and doing all these land swaps and all this stuff? That makes no sense, you know. But that's, you know, and that's when people start getting called out on it. But I will say, because I'm picking on Florida, the new executive director, Robert Young, has been very, very, very forthcoming in communication with US ARK Florida, and being involved in those conversations. I believe he was at this past Daytona as well. Like, he's not afraid to show his face. He's not afraid to own mistakes that happen within the organization, which is a huge shift from what we had previously seen under the previous executive director's regime. So
Right.
there's some hope. But again, like, that goes back to the point of, like, you have to be willing to deal with some of the BS, you know, and push through it, because that's how the change ends up happening, you know. But I also understand there are some people who are like, no, you know what? I'm good. You know,
I'm good. I'm
whether
out.
going to drop from a lawsuit or I'm going to move. I have friends who moved out of Florida because they were like, I
Right.
don't want to deal with this, you know, because they experienced multiple lies from the organization. When it was the initial ban of the anacondas, you know, I think it was the yellow anaconda or the green anaconda, one of them, the yellow anaconda. And then it was, you know, we're gonna say, okay, you can ban that. It's really not anything that's, you know, even around that much, but, you know, fine, you ban that, leave everything else alone. And there was an agreement, like, all right, cool, like, this is the only thing that's a problem, you know, blah blah blah, yellow anacondas. A couple of years later,
Retakes.
Bam, berms are coming. Bam, this is coming. Bam, this is coming. And it became like this cancer of just, like, everything's terrible and needs to leave the state, you know.
Tegus.
Tegus. The green iguana thing, you know, like, the green iguana thing was the biggest shoot myself in the foot thing that FWC could have done, because they had all those guys that were going catching those animals and they were getting sold out of state.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped that program from happening, and then the population of iguanas
through the roof.
skyrocketed because nobody's taking them out of the state anymore. And now people are starting to be able to get their permits again to be able to get them out of the state, because they're like, oh, well, we messed up.
So along with that, US ARK, brass man, doing music, what are some of the lessons that you've learned that obviously apply beyond reptiles in life, period?
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the biggest. The biggest.
That's so weird. That's my saying in the gym. That's my number one saying in the gym.
Look, and I ain't working out for shit. So.
Hey, if you're about to pass out, that's wonderful. That is your happy place.
Like, oh, yeah.
But no, man, I mean, like, that's really what it is. For my entire career doing both, I've always had at least one or two people be like, man, I don't know how you're able to do that. You got to pick one or the other. It's like impossible to balance both. And I always say to them the same thing. You might be right. Maybe if I did put one to the back burner and focused on the other, I would be 1,000 times more successful. However, I have been in situations where reptile sales get really slow, but gigs take off, and I'm paying my bills off music, and vice versa. I was literally just having this conversation with Mark the other day. I'm like, quarter 1 every year sucks as a musician. It's winter. There's no gigs. Nobody's getting married. Nobody's doing anything that they want live music. They're all shutted up in their homes. Like, I just want to see the sun. Like, that's all that's happening. You know, like nobody wants anything else. You know, so you know, everybody down in Florida is like, it's 50 degrees. I'm freezing. You know, and we're all, you know, us New Englanders are like, it's -20. Shut up. Like, you know. But
it's funny. That's so crazy. I think all of that goes to scale, right? We've been questioned on that as well, as far as the snake side of things. It's funny that you bring that up. When we're talking about like pricing trends in ball python projects, you know, versus an investment side of it, right? You know, we always looked at the big picture. You know, yes, we're only 3 years in, but we're like, hey man, we're looking at 10 years. 15 years, hopefully, if we're blessed. A lot of things need to kind of align, but we use a very simple kind of, not really analogy, but a saying. Would you, in your here and now, if somebody came to you, obviously you're a hardworking man, if they gave you $1 million and they say, okay, this is in addition to whatever you have in the bank, whatever, but you need to spend it right now. You could say, hey, I'm gonna just throw this in retirement, or you could say, hey, I'm going to spend the whole thing, and spending $1 million can somehow, through your hard work and effort, guarantee you $100,000 a year until you die. I'm going to spend that every time. Yes, it's going to take you a longer time to recoup it, but at the same time, I feel like that applies to the ball python industry. A lot of people want to buy, and again, I'm not going to throw combos out there because, like you said, they'll come out the woodworks. But you'll buy that 12 gene combo, 10 gene combo, $5,000 snake, you know, to breed it to another $5,000 snake, and you're upset, even if it's giving you 6 $2,000 snakes. You know, where are you accounting for the 14 gene combo, whatever, the $8,000 snake that it created that you chose to hold back? Why are you not accounting for depreciation over time? Do you understand you have a living, breathing creature that you're taking care of that can live 20 years, and if it gives you 6 eggs a year for 8 years, man, you can make a killing doing it that way. But again, that's long term. I feel like we don't look at that enough.
I 100% agree. I think long game is important, especially now in ball pythons.
Yes.
And we, of course, nowadays have the added benefits of shed testing.
Yes.
Back in the day, we didn't have, and we're guessing. Now, I will throw a small bit of shade at shed testing, only to say, stop being lazy. Use your freaking eyes. There are ways to tell. You just have to use your eyes. Notice how to find a het clown.
Look, he reached down to his inner Kevin on that one.
Look, usually a pos het pied with train tracks has a higher propensity of being an actual het pied.
Yep.
Het hypos tend to have a slightly aberrant pattern, especially in the back third of the body. Use your freaking eyes. Don't be lazy. That's number one. But
are you saying there's het markers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, look, I spent an entire, there's a quick tangent. I spent an entire show telling people you could tell if something was het clown by how it smelled. And I was a total joke.
Right.
Joke. And I was like, it's het clown. Just smell it. Smell the balls. Smell the balls.
That is next level. I was like, you can smell it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I've never been there.
I got some people to smell those ball pythons, man. It
Oh
happened.
my God. No, you did not.
Oh, I
There's
did.
no way.
I did.
No.
You can smell the het markers. I'm using that.
You smell it, bro.
I'm gonna use that.
It smells like popcorn, bro. It smells like popcorn.
So what does the pie smell like?
Oh,
Pie,
God.
it smells like the best sweet potato pie you've ever had, man.
Oh Oh, my
Oh
God.
But no,
man.
shed testing really does take things to the next level, right? And it
Right.
can cut out
Yeah.
a lot of nonsense and is really beneficial for breeders,
Right.
in particular. So use that to your advantage. 100% use that to your advantage. But long game is important. If I look at something like Desert Ghost.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we lost them.
Uh-oh.
That's exactly. You back? Wait, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear y'all. Can you hear me?
I can hear
We
you.
can hear
Just
you.
the
We just
video
can't see
went
you.
out.
Okay.
There we go. So Desert
Camera
Ghost.
died. Wait, you're back.
Oh,
but
now
no
I can hear
sound.
you. Uh-oh. Yeah, we can see you with no sound.
Yeah, I read your lips. You said, "What's going on?"
Let's see. Hold up.
Right.
He said we're back. Yeah,
He's gonna come back in.
if he
Yeah,
backs out and then comes back in. Man, it's
yeah,
just getting
kind of like
good.
what I did.
Just went off on
Yeah,
the
no.
Desert Ghost. I'm like, okay, I'm locked in. What are we gonna talk about with Desert Ghost? Because Audra hates her some Desert Ghost.
Oh, that's right. She does hate
Loves
DG.
her some Sunset, but hates her some Desert Ghost. So we're working a
Has
little
she
bit
seen
of
the
both.
Desert Ghost Sunset?
No.
Oh,
I haven't seen the Desert Ghost Sunset yet. I need to go
really?
check it out. I gotta check it
What's
out.
the name from Always Evolving made it?
Really, Miguel?
Made one, yeah, Miguel.
Oh wow, yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely didn't know that. Definitely
see
didn't know that.
It kind
All
of
right.
washes out the orange a little bit.
Did it?
Okay.
Cool.
He's back.
All right,
There
we're
you
back.
go.
We got it.
Good. We're
Perfect.
Good.
You were talking about Desert Ghost.
Yeah, so Desert Ghost Clown, right? I remember when Kevin made the first pastel DG clowns.
Okay.
And he wanted, we had never seen anything like it, but they were like, it was some astronomical price he was going to ask, like 40 grand, 50 grand, whatever it was. Go back 2.5 years ago, they're sitting on people's table.
Oh no.
At a round.
Wait, we lost you.
Did we lose
Audio again?
We got audio, but we don't.
I don't understand. I haven't
We love you
changed
too,
anything.
Sam Priest. We love you too.
All right, let's see. Hang on.
No problem. The DG Sunset did shift toward yellows. But it still looks
Okay. Am I back?
No, your audio still here.
I don't understand why my camera is saying no.
At least yours kind of mine totally just said, I was gone. I was like,
know,
what happened?
that's a perfect timing for the flip phone joke.
Bruh.
He said the topic is cursed.
The topic is cursed. That's right.
Audrey's in the background just deleting them.
Am I back? I see my video. Can you guys see my video?
No. You know what? Let me join back in. I'm going to remove and join back in and see if we can fix it that way. Yeah, it must be cursed. Refusing to talk about it. Here we go. Let's see. He's coming back in.
Yeah. Dude.
Now it's just a name.
That's weird.
That's so weird. Topic causing internet problems. There he is. That's weird. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, you're back.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, we good. Oh
God. Okay. DG Clown. Don't fuck this up.
Maybe it's because you said pastel. Wait.
Yeah. Oh no, don't do it.
Will every time. Okay, so we saw DG Clowns on. Is it?
Are you serious? This is a real thing.
This is crazy.
This is a real thing right now.
I have not touched my phone. Is my camera out?
Yes.
Yeah, the camera's out.
Cool. All right. Well, You're not going to see my face, but I'm not doing this again. So
No
We got
problem.
audio. Cool. Let's go for it.
So we saw DG clowns drop down to about $10,000 to $12,000 like 2.5 years ago on people's tables. Maybe they had pastel, maybe they didn't. And then within another 6-month period, they're down to $5,000, and then before the even end of that year, they're $1,000 for males.
Yep.
So, and part of that is there's 2 parts. One, people are breeding DG clown to DG clown.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's right off the rip. You know, they're making more DG clowns to try to get that last bit of the honey hole.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Part 2 of that comes from, well, now it's just in general easier to make because people have been making so many.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is where I think people got too blinded by the multi-recessive game. If you are looking at multi-recessive projects and focus all your energy on that, and then get rid of all your 5, 6, 7, 8 gene codom girls, you're out of it.
Yep.
You're out of it. You're out of your mind. You are
Yep.
out of your mind. You need those. You need those to make those cool double het combos so that you can plug things into the next generation.
But you know what they're doing? They're selling those or getting out of those thinking they're going to buy them later on. And a lot of the time, exactly what you're looking for is not going to be available. It's just not.
Exactly.
Nope.
Exactly. Like, look, so my personal journey with DG clown stuff, I have been raising up a pair for a while. First year I tried to produce female reabsorbed. Second year she only gave me 3 eggs, and I hit a lemon blast OD DG clown that died the day after it hatched.
Oh.
This year, same pairing, 6 eggs, 1 DG clown combo, and it doesn't want to eat.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm like cursed by it, right? And here's the pairing. Pastel, spider, pin, OD, YB, Lucifer, clown, het desert ghost.
Jeez.
Wow.
To a pastel DG 100% het clown female.
Yep.
Wow.
And the crazy thing is, in the clutch that I produced this year, I saw every single one of those genes in some different iteration. So I'm like, cool, this is a banger pair. I finally hit, I think it's like a bumblebee OD DG clown. And I'm like, okay, I would have preferred no spider, but you know, whatever, no big deal. It's a DG clown. You know, now I can make double hets and whatever if I want to go down that road. That's what I'm paying attention to. I could easily just go buy a pastel DG clown.
Yep.
But for me, now I have a vendetta.
You sound like Darren. Yeah, he did that.
I have a vendetta against it. And also, ball pythons are not my focus anymore. I'm doing the ball python thing just because, like, I enjoy them. They're a species that's always been close to my heart, and like I'm just having fun with them. You know, I want to make things that people are interested in because, of course, I would like to sell them. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking at a snake in a rack for the next 20 years, I'm okay with that. Like I enjoy that animal. You know, but yeah, so I have a vendetta on this DG clown thing. But you know, had I made this 2.5 years ago when I first tried, it would have been $10,000-$15,000.
Yeah,
yeah,
you know,
easily.
Now I'm like, all right, it's bumblebee and DG clown, like maybe $1,500 if I'm lucky. Like
yeah. But, so with when Nerd was selling a lot of his 6, 7 gene animals up there that weren't pretty much het for anything, me and Will were talking about those would be good animals to turn around and have and breed those to these double recessive.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And I will tell you again, because I was just up there, he's not 100% out of ball pythons.
Right.
And what he did keep,
it's
he
crazy.
kept some good ones. He
Yeah.
kept some really freaking good ones. It's understanding the market and everything else that he has going on. He's realizing like that quantity of ball python it just doesn't make any sense for him and the direction he wants to take nerd in anymore.
Right.
Because it's like you deal with that, but you go down the hall and you've got half a dozen gravid Amazon basin emerald tree boas. So you can't be mad.
Yeah.
You can't be
And then
mad.
he has a lot of big lizards too.
All the monitors and all that, all that stuff, because he's a crazy man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I think having that long game thought out in ball pythons is the element that really is missing. And again, we have shed testing, so you can really jump into the game. If you can't afford visuals, and you find somebody that has shed tested a het, or they're selling a pos het that you're willing to take that gamble on to shed test after you get it, go for it.
Right.
I still like there's still value in pos hets if you want to take that gamble. If you're not at that
there
point,
absolutely is.
if you're not at that point where you can put up that money, but you can say, hey, you know what? I got $200 I can spend, and I got the $50 to go shed test. Let's go for it.
So we were talking about that too, right? The possibility of not having pos hets anymore, and I don't think that's possible. And the only reason I don't think that's possible is because the biggest customer base, the biggest area is going to be pet area of ball python, period, across the board. Therefore, you're going to have pet keepers that want to make cool stuff. They don't want it to be a business. They want to make cool stuff. They're spending some extra play money that they have or some money they stored up just to have some fun with it. That being said, they are going to most likely choose to go after some of those double het to double het, quad het to quad het pairings, hit some cool stuff along the way, keep it, sell it, whatever they decide to do with it. But they're also going to be left with their own byproduct. And they are not going to turn around and send a shed in that at the end of the day, the snake monetary value may be $50 when it's all said and done, and spend $150 per shed to test it. You're always going to have pos hets. You just have to figure out how to navigate it from seller side as well as a buyer side. From the seller side, it has to make sense to really test it. If it's not a newer, more rare, I guess, gene that has a test available for it, may not make sense to test it in certain situations where if normal het clown female is $50, I don't know if you're going to be testing that shed. You may just kind of sell it as, or you probably can't even sell it. It's probably a wholesale snake at that point, honestly.
Right. But that also goes to understanding your business, what your bottom line is, what you're trying to actually accomplish. Like the comment that was highlighted about it's still a double recessive combo. That's a pet quality snake. I 100% disagree with that, because you don't know where somebody's at in the development of their business. Right. So I think certain combos that we've seen a lot of for a very long time, like maybe a hypopide or something like that, something that's been around a long time, sure, because there's probably plenty of them in the marketplace as it is. But if we're talking about certain combos like DG Clown, in my opinion, even DG Pied, yes, they're getting more common. But to me, when I'm thinking about pet quality or pet level animals, I'm not thinking about anybody that's looking to breed, period. I'm looking at that person that's going to go spoil that ball python in a 4x2x2 cage with all the fix-ins and bells and whistles and a freaking tire swing. Like, that's what I'm thinking about.
And they're going to message you, my snake isn't eating.
Yes. Yeah. But guess what? Those people, in many instances, if you treat them right, those people are coming back to you time after time after time. So, and also the other thing I think we don't think about when it comes to snakes, right? Like we throw some animals up for, $20, $30, $50. I have two issues with that. And this isn't just ball pythons. This is multiple species of reptiles in general. One, when you put such little monetary value on an animal, a living, breathing life, it becomes a throwaway piece of whatever, because to the average person, as the saying goes, $20 is $20.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, oh man, if it died, I'm sad for a day, but it was just $20.
Right.
I'm not taking that $20 snake to the vet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yep.
That's issue number one. So I think there should be some flat line barrier for entry where it's like, hey, that normal ball python, this is going to sound crazy to some people, that normal ball python should be $100.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't see anything under $100, because guess what? When you got to pull Uncle Ben out your wallet, you think for a second before you want to break that 100.
Right.
Yep.
Andrew Jackson fills up the gas tank. You know,
Pretty
depending on
much
what you're
now.
driving, you know,
Yeah, it does
that's
now in California, especially.
right. You know, like that's a I mean, look at fast food.
Oh, yeah.
McDonald's, a meal at McDonald's costs you damn near $20.
Yep.
Right? So
Don't
there's
say yup, Darren. Your kid meal. That's $10.
right.
Yeah, but I still eat adult
I
meals,
need
but I
that
wear
Big
kid
Mac, bro.
style
I need
shoes.
that Big Mac. Yeah. But you get what I'm like. There starts to become an ethics question that gets weaved in a little bit, you know.
Right.
And of course, I'm not like, nobody's going to go charge $100 for a normal ball python. That's just
Right.
not where we're at.
Yeah.
But you know, and with that, when we start also thinking about pet keepers,
Mm-hmm.
think about the dog market for a second.
Yep.
You get a purebred high-end dog, you're spending $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000,
$10,000. Yeah.
$10,000
Yes.
on a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I've had pet keepers come spend $2,500 with me on a ball python because they
Right.
thought it looked cool. They didn't
Oh, yeah.
want a normal ball python. They wanted
Yep.
something that looked wild.
Yep.
So when we start tanking prices, again, I understand supply and demand. I've been in this business long enough. I get it. So if anybody wants to chew me out in the comments, send me a DM. You'll go right to the complaint department in hell. I don't really care. But my point being, there has to be at some point, especially when we're looking at a species that's so commonly and easily produced, there
Right.
is a layer of ethics that starts to get involved when you start removing yourself from investment quality. The person that's going to buy this is somebody that's breeding it specifically for the purpose of, you know, pursuing a project, versus that pet keeper that's just like, I just want a cool pet. I like snakes. Snakes are cool. You know,
Mhm.
and I think that we lose sight of, especially those of us that are in the game, that are breeding for very specific things. We're trying to get to a specific goal. I think sometimes we unintentionally end up kind of forgetting about those people that we all were at one point, as just like, I think snakes are cool. I want to own a pet snake. And if that's going
Right.
to cost, you know, it's awesome that it only cost me $20. But those same people are walking into that Petco and still spending $500 on that banana pied.
Right.
Yep.
They're still
Now,
spending,
yeah.
and you've got it on your table for $185. Somebody just bought one for $500. So don't tell me they won't pay the money, because they will. But it's an effort to just understand, okay, it's two different markets, right? The
Yep.
investment market, the breeder market, to the pet market. But when we start looking at it as just like, oh, it's just whatever, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it.
Mhm.
When you start looking at the animal as that level of like, it's whatever, you're not remembering that that's still a living being that you created, that is under your care, that you are now responsible for, whether you wholesale it out or whatever. But you also can't forget who you were at your inception of this situation, which is, I'm so excited to have my first ball python. It's the coolest thing in the world. I'd pay $100 for that.
There you go.
Yep.
You know, but you're touching on something too, where with flawless crested geckos, I don't want to say we've done that, but we're still currently building that brand. We're never going to stop, and we're trying to build that brand on flawless exotic creation side. But you bring up a very important topic there, because it's something that we try to influence by, you know, putting out social media content, doing videos, doing lives like this, is there comes a lot of responsibility when you start producing these ball pythons. And along with that, you have to understand that when you sell, even to a pet keeper or aspiring ball python breeder, there's a entire area. Me and Darren was actually talking about this earlier this week. A business that has nothing to do with the care side that you also have to be a student of. So again, now you're watching videos, you're doing research, you're trying to figure out the business side of the ball pythons. But why? And again, this is not a question for you, but why am I going to study the business if I know, hey, I just hit a 2-gene DG clown, I see they're $1,500. Why do all of that? I'm just going to move it out for $800. Somebody's going to buy it. So if you keep doing that, no matter whether it's a normal, whether it's this or that, I don't want to do the work. I'm just going to drop the price and it's going to move. You're always going to have that level of breeder on the business side. So it messes everything up, right? You know, the totality of circumstances are what they are. And these videos like this is our way of trying to influence what we want to see in the hobby, right? That's what 100%. I would say.
No, 100%. I agree with that. Absolutely. I remember the last time, one of the last times, I don't think it was the last conversation I had with him, but one of the last conversations I had with Brian Barczyk was we were talking about the post-COVID market. And, you know, he and I had both been around to see a couple of these economic cycles where prices dip and whatever, and they usually stabilize within a season or two. And this go around is arguably, which he and I didn't necessarily think at the time, this rebound has taken longer, significantly longer. And, you know, part of that has to do with, you know, social media playing a role in how things are digested. But also, if we look at every other element and variable and factor. So you get all these people that get into ball pythons during COVID. They're like, this is the time we're buying it. You know, breeders are loving it. And because of it, are increasing production and trying to sell, make the money that we can. You know, we haven't seen a boom like this since the early 2000s. This is great. You know, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. People feeling on top of the world. Now, post-COVID, you know, coming out of that, like that first year, a lot of those people that spent their stimmy checks on a cool pair of ball pythons, you know, are now breeding them, and they've made something cool. They've made something that's got some element of value, you know. But they don't understand business and what it takes to actually operate a reptile business, which is, you know, okay, cool. I've got 2 snakes. I just made 8 snakes. Now I've got 10 snakes and I've got to feed all these things. I got to get the caging. I've got to do this. Holy crap. I didn't think about any of that. Now I'm freaking out because guess what? I got laid off during COVID. I don't have all that money lying around. Oh my God, I can't afford a $5 mouse at the store down the street because I don't know anything about buying in bulk. These things won't eat frozen thawed for me. So I got to go to Petco and buy a $5 mouse times 8 every week. And then fight with them about we don't sell live for feeders. So shut up, you do now.
Or $12 rats. I said a $12 rat.
So, you know, so like that's an element. So then, of course, it's, well, I got to get rid of these things. I got to figure out how to sell them really quick. And it doesn't matter that maybe they made a $2,500 snake off their $600 investment or $1,000 investment. Now they're like, I just got to get rid of this thing. Then you introduce, at the same time we start to see this descent, you introduce morph market auctions right at the peak, right before the fall. And now everybody is like, I can auction this off. I just got to get this out of here. I just got to get it out of here. Okay, cool. Because if you notice, you started seeing things. After a while, there was like a push of like, okay, you can tell this is everybody's byproduct that they're just trying to empty out of their racks. But now when you go through and look, you might scratch your head. Like, why was there just an auction for a pinstripe yellow belly double het zebra DG? Why did that happen?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like that one doesn't really make okay, it's a male. You mean to tell me you on one of the final new recessives we've seen enter the ball python market. You mean to tell me, regardless of the fact that it's a male, you can't figure out a way to sell that?
Right.
You know, like that's something to take into consideration. So we've now watched this descent, and you know, people also argue on Palm Street, you know, doing the live streams on Palm Street, those auctions, whatever. My thing, like I use Palm Street. I've let my morph market go. I could care less about the platform. I think
Right.
it's become a giant clusterfuck, and that's just my personal opinion.
Mhm.
I've used Palm Street a handful of times. I don't produce enough in general to use it every week like some people do. But if you're utilizing it, first of all, if you're a big breeder utilizing Palm Street to try to sell $10,000 plus snakes, you're out of your mind. That's number one. That's just number one, because the whole platform's existence was in plants. It just opened up to the reptile
Yep.
market, which means it's newbies, it's pet keepers, it's exactly the people we were just talking about. That's like, yeah, I'll spend $100 on a normal ball python. Like that looks cool, you know. Though
Palm Street.
that's the
Palm
perfect
Street is
space.
awesome. We've utilized it last season before
Mhm.
we sold out. But we approached it, and we put it out on here as well on YouTube, but we approached it a different way. And I think a lot of people wasn't thinking, kind of just being creative with it.
Yeah.
We saw that applying for an account, it doesn't cost you anything. It kind of costs you on the back end once you close some deals and some sales. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we decided to utilize it as a social media platform, and it's like, okay, it doesn't matter if we got 30, 40 snakes available. Let's run it like a show. If we're going to do it like once a week, let's go ahead and do it. It only lasted for us for 2 weeks. The first week, and we literally scheduled it. We're going to auction off 10. We set, whatever price range we're going to set on them. And the goal, which was weird to a lot of people, the goal was never really to sell all 10 every week. We understand that you're only going to be viewed by whoever is on Palm Street at that point in time. That being said, the first week, I want to say we sold 4 out of the 10. And the second week, we sold 5 out of the 10. And then over the rest of the season, the rest just sold outright, which was really, really cool. Right. What we were able to do, though, in between just auctioning off, running these auction 10 snakes per week, there was a different 10 per week we were able to show off. And in between, we were able to show whole back animals, things you can create, things that were one of one to all a new crowd that is not deeply involved in the ball python hobby. And we had a lot of messages and a lot of interest built from there. So again, using it as a social media platform where, yes, you pay for it on the back end. So you're not really being charged anything if you sell nothing and other than your time. So you can run 10 auctions, have a full-blown conversation with everyone for a full hour and sell nothing, but it costs you nothing. So again, we looked at it from the other side, and I think it's very useful.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I think when it comes to that, like utilizing it as a space to just build community, number one, like we've already seen some folks that have just like totally taken advantage of that in a good way. They've built up an amazing community with already thousands of followers. And like I had a friend who did a live stream at the last Raleigh show, and just, they're like, hey, we're going to auction off. We got everything cupped up as we normally would for an auction. Let's do an auction in the last couple hours of the show. It's kind of slow, whatever. And their sales were amazing, but it was just a random one-off. They didn't even plan, but they built enough of a community that when those notifications went out that they were going live, it was like, hey, we got to check this out, see what's going on. And I think that if you can capitalize on building the community and taking a time to, again, recognize the fact that they're not hardcore reptile people. They're entry level, maybe novice or intermediate reptile folks that, they might not know everything. So like capitalize on that. And again, knowing where this is a business thing too, knowing where your market is and the target market that you're trying to hit. Because again, like I said, it makes no sense to bring a $10,000 snake onto Palm Street right now. Those people aren't there. But like, hey, guess what? I produced an Enchi leopard het candy that I'm okay with getting, you know, $50, $75 for. And I'm not going to, I might post it on my website, but I'm not going to go post that on something like Morph Market. There's no point. But I'll bring that to a palm tree with
or even
no
add to that
question.
if you have that $5,000 or $10,000 snake, that's what you honestly want. The only way that doesn't hurt you is if you actually run it on Palm Tree and see who is interested. You already know it's not going to sell, but now you also have people that never really saw it before. They're on that platform. They're talking to their buddies and their friends. Hey, did you see this? I screenshot this, and it kind of builds a little bit more talk about what you're working with. So that's kind of cool, you know. But don't put it up there thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna sell, and then you start it at like $1 or something, and ruin everything. No reserve, and it ends up in like somebody's. Oh, you renege on it for like $500, and they don't sell it to you. It's like, man, think things through.
Yeah. Did we lose them?
Let's see. Yeah, I think we did actually. Yep, there you go. He popped off. Been having technical difficulties with Jeremy's camera, but it's been a awesome conversation. This has been crazy.
I wanted to ask him one last question before he popped off.
Pop back on. Have you set up everything and started to get ready for an announcement to do your first palm yet?
No,
not yet.
No,
Dragging on feet.
Not yet.
Dragging on feet.
Yes.
We gotta get on. Hey, get on them. Everybody in the comments, get on them. Get on the curse strikes again. Here he is. Oh, we got picture this time.
Hey, for now, I'll give it another 5 minutes.
Yep. I have one question. You know, I know you were there when the auctions first started, right? You remember when they were doing them on Facebook and everything? And we had a run. That run was for so long, and then you never saw them again. It stopped. Do you really actually think this time around that they're going to really actually stop?
They never stopped.
I don't think
the
they
auctions?
stopped.
They never, the BSR auctions never stopped. They just moved off of Facebook.
Oh yeah, he was doing them on like his own platform. He was doing it on his website, you know, and then you go in and kind of do it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they'll ever stop. I think there's a value. I think they are an asset for sure. I think they do provide an outlet for breeders and sellers to sell, you know, whether it's lower end genetic byproduct animals or whatever. People are looking for that deal. Again, as we were talking about with the Poshets, you know, like taking that gamble, you know, that's a good opportunity for it. I think it is a double-edged sword, because you'll get those people that maybe nobody really knows about, but they put up a little bit of money, had a good investment, got some good odds, made something great, but you know, they're getting buried on Morph Market. They don't really know where else to sell something. So, and they might not really have a solid piece of the community connected to them where they could say, hey man, you know, can you maybe sell this for me? And I'll give you 10% or, you know, whatever. They might not have that built in yet. So they're going to be like, well, we'll auction it and just see where it goes, because I need to make some money, you know, and maybe they throw a reserve on it, maybe they don't, and maybe they get upset at the end result. But that's always going to happen. I think I pick on the Morph Market auction element because specifically because when it happened, it was like right when everything was already headed in that direction. And it's just like, man, like you couldn't have held out for 6 more months. Like at least let us stabilize a little bit, you know. But I think for me personally, in my business, this is where diversity has been key. You know, like colubrids really do cover a lot of my bottom line, you know, and I produced maybe I don't know. I'm looking at racks. I produced a lot. Probably like 100 or so colubrids across a few different species.
Oh wow.
You know, but the nice thing with colubrids, you know, when we start digging into what this business entails, the expenses that go along with it, you know, I might produce a scaleless corn snake combo that's maybe a $400 corn snake. After that thing's had maybe I don't know, 5 to 8 meals of a pinky mouse, that I can buy in bulk for 20 cents a piece, you know, I've only put maybe $5 into that snake at a max when you think about electric and my time and blah, 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 when you break it all down to the nitty gritty. So if I then sell that snake for $400, that's a really great margin.
Right.
That's a really great margin, you know. So to have that kind of flexibility that really can help cover, you know, $400, if I'm profiting, you know, 390 of that $400, hey, that just went, that's like, I don't know, 20% of my next feeder bill when I have to re-up the freezer.
Right.
Off one corn snake, a snake that's going to lay 15 eggs, like, you know, almost guaranteed.
That's right.
You know,
they do have a lot of eggs.
Yeah.
They have a
and
lot
you're
of
working
eggs,
with,
you know?
you're working with chondros now
so
too, right?
That's something that I don't. Oh, did it happen again?
No, you're back. You're still there.
Okay.
You're still good.
All right.
You're good. You're good.
But that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. You know, I mean, I don't, of course, everybody's got different situations as far as being able to get access to feeders and that consistency and that quantity. But, you know, like I'm really lucky where I'm at. I can get my feeders at a decent rate every time that I need them. No issues. You know, at a certain price point. You know, partly because of the relationship that I've built, but also partly because I'm a consistent customer. I need this all the freaking time. If you got me, I got you, you know, and I'll talk about your business and I'll do whatever the heck you need me to do, man. Like I've got no shame in that. You know, if you're giving me a good quality product, I'm going to talk about it. You know, but with that, like, I've talked on multiple podcasts about how this business really does not scale the same way most businesses would.
Right.
You know, if you're getting 10 grand profit out of one CB70 rack, that does not mean you're going to make 20 grand profit when you bring in a second CB70 rack. That's just the name of the game, you know. Because also the one thing we also didn't talk about in ball python land is genetics are random. It's all random. It doesn't matter if you produce one clutch or 50 clutches.
Right.
It's random.
Yeah.
Like, it's what it is.
Those genes.
You know,
those genes. Oof,
those genes. Man, one of my first Kevin conversations about genetics and the odds, he bred, this was way back, champagne to normal. This is when that was like, you couldn't get much better than champagne, you know. 9 eggs, 9 normals.
Wow.
Wow. Champagne?
Wow.
Champagne and normal, dude. 9 eggs, 9 normals. His first pastels, he bred pastel to normal, I think 5 eggs, all normals. He thought pastel was originally recessive.
Well, he made out good in both of those breedings.
You know, but it's just like, it's like, you know, that's the other side of it. You know, I
just this season I hit 7 ivories, 1 normal.
Oh wow.
And I don't even think that's just a yellow belly. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's wow.
I was like, what?
Yep.
And you're working with chondros now, right? Or no?
Amazon tree boas.
Amazon tree boas.
Yeah.
So how did you spin into that? You just had an interest in it, or you've been?
So I kept Amazons for the first time maybe 16 or so years ago now. And you know, I was a kid in my teens. Yeah, I know. Yeah, great. Yeah. But I thought they were neat. You know, of course they're a little bitey tree snake. So I was like, you know, oh, whatever, this will be, you know, kind of interesting. But I had never bred boas before, so I didn't really understand the nuances of breeding boas. And just I was like, these are a little challenging. Like I'm good. I'm gonna go back to my corn snakes and ball pythons because they breed no problem. Then right before I started at Nerd, I got my hands on a captive bred baby. So Amazons are incredibly largely imported. So this was my first captive bred animal. Really tractable, really chill, and I was like, oh, well, this is different, you know, and they've, you know, cool colors. So I was like, oh, you know, I'd like to try to breed it, you know, see if I can do what I couldn't do when I was a kid. And that's when I saw all the crazy colors and all the like, whoa, people have been doing this for a long time and I've just never heard of it.
Right.
So I dove right in. I got my hands on a red male that wasn't import, but I understood snakes more. Now I've
Mhm.
got 16 extra years under my belt on how to navigate arboreal snakes and some of these other things. So I had a much better experience just keeping them.
Right.
And then I went balls to the wall because now I'm at Nerd. So now I'm talking to some of the importers and stuff for Nerd and everything. And I'm like, hey, what do you got for those Amazon tree boas? What do you got out of, what's coming out of Guyana this go around? So slowly started kind of building up that collection, and my first real investment in it, I probably had maybe 15 or so. And then I got a call from a buddy of mine in Florida, an importer guy, and he was like, what would you charge on a 90% white Amazon tree boa? And I was like, I don't know, but I want to see it. Like, send me pictures. And he
Right.
sent me pictures of this snake, and
He said, I gotta have it.
I was like, tell me what you want. Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
you want feet pics? Like, what you want, bro? Like, we're gonna go.
He's going OF on him.
We're gonna go
He's
for
going,
this. So it was just a crazy high white calico animal. I spent a little over $3,000 for, and that was like top of the line Amazon tree boa
yeah.
purchase right there. That was my first investment. And I'll say ball python wise, I've dropped, close to $10,000 in one sitting.
Yeah.
So
Right.
throwing numbers around like that didn't freak me out so much. But I was like, it's an Amazon tree boa that I'm going to spend $3,000 on. People have these on their table for $50. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
We're taking this dive.
Oh
Um,
God.
but got it, established it. I sent it. I didn't have a good female for it at the time, so I sent it to a friend of mine here in North Carolina, who's
Ooh,
hardcore
you brave.
Amazon guy that I trusted for a while, and I was like,
Right.
breed it. We'll split the clutch. She never produced, so I was like, cool. Well, I'll take him back. She just didn't. She
Yeah.
didn't cycle.
Yeah.
No problem. I brought him back, bred her that following season. All I got was red calico babies, and I was losing my mind because it was like the coolest thing I had ever seen. And I was like, I did it! Like, this is, yeah, I freaking did it, man! Like, stoked. So now I'm like, that was the moment for me where I was like, this is it. Like, this is
Right.
what I'm pivoting to, because I don't care whether they're a gray garden phase or a red calico tiger. Like, I think this is the coolest thing, and I
Right.
haven't had a snake species get me that excited
In a long time.
in a long time. Like, I mean, I'm excited when I hatch anything, but this
Right.
was like next level. I'm
Yeah.
running around the house screaming like a kid that just got a PS5. Like, this is wild. So I was locked in at that point. So that's when I was like, I've been wanting to reduce numbers on certain things, and just kind of streamline everything, make things make more sense, have better margins than what I was finding on ball pythons. And having this particular litter of Amazons, it was 5 animals, 4 of them were males. And
Oh
I was
wow.
like, oh, that's tough. Like, I don't need 4 males. The one female is the animal that I brought up to bar check at the end of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the lone female. He had messaged me as soon as I posted a photo of those babies and was
Really?
like, if you get a red female, or if you have a red female that you're not keeping, I want it. I don't care what it takes, whatever. And for me, that was wild, because I'm like, Barczyk
Heck
has
yeah.
whatever the hell he wants. Like,
Yep.
he can get whatever the hell he
Yeah.
wants. So that made me feel like, yeah, bro, I got
Yeah.
you, man. So
I got
it was
you,
the
bro.
only female, but I was like, dude, I don't care. Like, the fact that you, like, literally within 20 minutes are texting me about it, I'm like, I got you, bro. This animal is yours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no questions.
Yeah.
The other 3 males I ended up trading to some other Amazon folks because now I was like, now these animals have given me the doorway to start communicating with the Amazon guys that have been doing this for years, and they've got
Right.
rock
Yeah.
solid lineage that's like top of the line that would cost me thousands of dollars per animal.
Right.
Now I've
Yep.
got something of equal value, and this is, this goes in ball python language too. Like when you get that animal, the animal becomes currency in that
Right.
regard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that got me a lot of really great captive bred animals that really is just going to take everything to the next level for what we're doing. In tandem with that, I've maybe have bought out a collection or so, and I've kind of
So how many boas do you have now?
I have about 50 Amazon tree boas
Oh
right now.
my gosh.
Look, I just released a video on YouTube all on the Amazon tree boas, and dude, when I tell you I'm so invested, this is the thing that like got my spark back into reptiles. Not that I lost it, but again, to have that one thing that just motivates you more than anything, like
Yep.
that's everything for me.
I know that
So
feeling.
I've gone in and like restructured my entire business on this. I started custom racks that are 100% focused on the Amazon tree boas. I developed with Rich over at Reptile Basics. We're integrating misting systems and lighting into racks that aren't fucking $3,000 for 2.5 units of whatever. Like a legitimate rack that can hold everything you need, integrating mist systems, specialized heating placement, like literally thinking specifically about everything about what this snake needs. Because the reality is I'd love to have them all in cages, but economically that just doesn't make any sense. So I'm out here buying $50 Cambro tubs, food storage tubs that are now specifically designed for Amazon tree boas. Again, mist system integrated. Heating is along the back side of a specific wall so that they can sit on an elevated hide platforms. Females can gestate their babies, like all of these things. And I'm like, this is what it is. Like, I'm so amped and hyped about taking husbandry to the next level and not being like, it's bioactive, I'm so cool, but literally being like, you can still be a hardcore reptile guy and keep in racks, but take that husbandry to the next level. You can still provide your animal with everything that it needs and still do a wall of racks for this species of snake. So I've changed everything. Like, I got rid of, when I first moved to North Carolina, I had 250 ball pythons. I've got 30.
Okay.
And I had I don't know, maybe 40 carpet pythons. I've got a dozen. The only thing that's increasing outside of Amazon's is colubrids. That's the only thing I'm increasing numbers on, because again, they help cover my bottom line in a lot of aspects, but also they're a great animal when it comes to wholesale because they're always in demand, which again just goes to bottom line. But they're another great group of snakes for first-time keepers. People who don't want a ball python because all they think in their mind is python means big. Even if you educate them, all they still get stuck with is the word python. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, here's a corn snake that's, lemon yellow, and guess what? It's only $100. That's kind of hard to beat. It gets the same size as a ball python, just not as thick. And now that's a little easier to process. And then that's the gateway into ball pythons usually later on. But so that's the only other thing that's increasing in numbers here, because again, financial impact is very minimal. So I'm literally doubling my colubrid breeders from 40 animals to 80 animals, and it doesn't impact my business very much at all. So like, perfect example, I have one pair of Texas rat snakes. And it's female scaleless and a male that was supposed to be het scaleless. That male proved out to not be het for scaleless, so I was kind of bummed. Wow. But it got mixed matched. Accidents happen. It's all, it is what it is. No big deal. But her first clutch, I double clutched her, Her first clutch was 14 eggs. She's a big snake, so I was like 14 eggs, that's perfect. I can wholesale maybe half that clutch and then, you know, sell retail the others, and that'll be great. I double clutched her. Normally with colubrids, when you double clutch them, that second clutch has less eggs.
Yep, it was bigger.
She gave me 21 eggs.
21. Oh my God.
So I
my
had
gosh.
35. I had 35 Texas rat snakes from one pair.
Wow.
From one pair. So I wholesaled. I wholesaled 25 of them.
Right.
I wholesaled
Yeah.
25 of them because I was like, I don't need that many. But what did that do? That covered a huge portion of my bottom line to get all my colubrids feeding for the rest of the season.
Yep.
From one
That was
pair
worth
of
it.
snakes. One pair of snakes. Hugely helpful.
35 eggs.
Yeah,
Gee.
like wild. And she's like, she's a decent sized rat snake. She's probably 5 feet.
God.
But I was not expecting all that.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Wow.
But she'll take down a small rat like it's no problem. You know, but I wasn't expecting that double.
It's so crazy how
21 eggs.
They have scales at the bottom.
Yeah,
and ball pythons
Yeah,
are fully scaleless.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So, but I'll show you something interesting because we're talking about the colubrid stuff. So I do a bunch of scaleless corn snake stuff, and I just had. Let's see, where are you at, buddy? Nope, not you. You're the wrong one. I think it's you right here. So this was the first time I had seen. Which one was it? Damn it! There's so many corn snakes.
Infested with corn snakes.
Kind of. This scaleless snake actually had no belly scales. And,
Really?
Yeah, and that threw me for a loop. And of course, I guess I'm looking at the wrong freaking clutch. Because what the hell? Not a liar, I promise. Here we go.
Uh-oh, he got
it. He has some, but largely has none. So we've got a lot of belly scales up here.
Oh yeah.
And then they kind of vanish. I know, I'm so sorry. You're hating life. I apologize.
So over time, basically evolution, they're losing the scales on their belly because of breeding.
I guess that's the first time I've ever seen that with a scaleless corn snake. So I have no idea if it's just a fluke, a one-off situation, or if suddenly we're going to start seeing fully scaleless corn snakes.
I probably, you think about it, evolution over time, you kept breeding and breeding, and you're line breeding that to get the scaleless. So there you go.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
I'm like, it's wild, but yeah, like that kind of stuff again helps me cover my bottom lines. Has pretty solid margins, and you know, again, they also eat the same thing as the Amazon tree boas. My biggest adult female Amazon tree boas are eating jumbo mice.
Really?
I don't have to go bigger than mice for any of that. So if I want to, I can give them a weanling rat or something like that. What's that?
That's keeping costs down.
Oh yeah.
Big time. Yeah. Big time. So
speaking on the boas, do you have any available?
What's that?
I'm sorry. Speaking on the boas, do you have any available?
So this year has been kicking my butt. So I don't have anything available right now. I have 2 garden phase animals. One is a long-term captive animal that was originally wild caught. He's been in the country for 5 years. He's phenomenal. And the other is a garden that was captive born, but not captive bred and born. So he was produced from an imported female that came to the country and then gave birth.
Gotcha.
So that's what I have available on my website now. But I had some leopards that were born back in January, right after I came back from a trip to South America, and they did great and then died. And I was like, that sucks. And then I just had an animal born. I bred a leopard to a Halloween tiger to make tiger leopards,
Mhm.
not ball pythons. And and she gave me one baby and 4 slugs, and I was so pissed. And that baby just died out of nowhere right before
Oh,
it went into its
wow.
first ship. So I have one more litter due for this year. She's due in 10 days,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I'm hoping that we have something good in that. And then I have females. Normally these guys will breed in the spring, but I have about 5 girls that are starting to produce follicles now. So
Okay.
I've got stuff paired up now. So hopefully beginning of 2026, I'll have some cool stuff available, some red calicos, some bicolors, and maybe some leopard stuff too. But yeah, they
Now
kicked
you
my
said
ass this year.
leopard, red calico. Are there a lot of morphs or genes or localities or?
So there's a handful of morphs. So we've got tiger is an incomplete dominant. The super form, from what we know, doesn't look different, and you won't know until you breed it, kind of thing.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um, the leopard is recessive.
Okay.
There's another gene called the marble, which is probably the rarest gene right now in Amazons. There's only a couple people that have them, and I'm on a list
Oh,
to be able to get some. That appears to at least be dominant, potentially incomplete dominant. We don't know. Um, and then so red/red calico is kind of like hidden gene woma granite. Those genes seem to be married to each other.
Yep.
And people are under the impression that it's recessive. I don't 100% align with that thought process,
okay.
specifically because when I produced those red calicos and red calico tigers, that was a red calico animal to a yellow tiger that did not have red in its lineage. It was a captive bred
Hmm.
animal with no red in its lineage, and I got 100% red calico
Right.
babies.
Yeah. Huh.
So
Can we see it?
I'm like,
Can we see one?
yeah, absolutely.
I want to see it.
Absolutely. Oh, of course he's in shed right now. Damn it. But
Man.
he's still cool. He's still cool. Okay, let's see. Don't be an asshole. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Oh, shit.
Yeah, and he is out of shed. He is red and white.
Red. Because like right now he has like a pinkish color to him, a pinkish hue.
Yeah, I can see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it in his eyes. Wow. Jeez. Very long body, very skinny profile.
Oh yeah. He is gonna be 2 years old in 2 weeks. And he's probably about 3.5 foot right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But guess what he eats? He eats freaking hoppers at 2 years old. It's amazing.
That's crazy.
I was waiting to see if he's gonna get tagged. I was like, he's gonna get
Yeah, and
tagged.
it looked like I was like,
He's
yeah,
like
he's
this.
a brave soul. He's a brave
about to-
soul.
Gotta know how to work them.
I see. Man, oh man. But wow, yeah, we done took up 2 hours of your time, brothers. Tell everyone where they can find you at in case they want to get on a list for some of those Amazon tree boas or whatever you may have available. Let us know about your next gig. Where's your next gig? We didn't talk much about
gig. Oh man, I just did a wedding gig in Charlotte yesterday. I don't even know where the hell I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be in Lake Toxaway, North Carolina, for a gig next weekend. I don't even know where that is. So,
and can people book you?
Yeah, people can book me. You can. So if you want to learn more about my music stuff, you can go to my website. It's just jeremyturgeon.com. There's all my music info there, all the records that I've worked on, my music, all that stuff is over there. And of course, JT Music 1092 is that Instagram account if you want to follow the music stuff. Reptile wise, if you are interested in tree boas, send me an email at brassmanreptiles@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to put you on a wait list for stuff. Let me know what you're interested in. I have almost everything when it comes to Amazons, except for marble right now. And I'm working on combo jeans and all that other fun stuff. So, but yeah, brassmanreptiles.com is where you can find all my availability: tree boas, colubrids, ball pythons, carpet pythons, short-tail pythons, everything. Brassmanreptiles.com. And then all the social platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just look up Brassman Reptiles. And I'm always down to talk snakes, whether it's for 90 minutes or 9 million hours. It doesn't matter. I'm here to talk reptiles.
Love it. Love it. Love it. We appreciate you, brother. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on, man.
Oh, yeah. Anytime.
Oh, yeah. Anytime.
Really
Anytime.
mean that. I'm interested to see how this 2026 season is going to go for you with the boas, because definitely untapped area, very unfamiliar for me. So definitely they're pretty cool and very interested in the business side of what you're going to go and do with them next. So that's going to be really interesting.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. 2026, like I said, hopefully will be a really good year. So if it goes as should, with girls starting to cycle now and in the spring, maybe about a dozen litters.
Let's go
for 2026. So that would be great.
That's awesome.
What's the average clutch size?
Usually between 5 and 8 on average.
Okay.
There's definitely some bigger girls. You'll get 10, 12, 15
Wow.
on some of the big girls. So it's definitely possible to get huge, much larger litters.
Right.
But on average, if you're breeding, your average size 4.5 foot female, you're gonna look about 5 to 8 babies.
Nice.
I gotta keep saying litter. Boas is litters.
Boas
Amazon tree boas is litters. Yeah. We call it clutches because ball python, you got a clutch of eggs, but yes,
right.
It's a litter.
Comparable litter sizes, yeah.
Yes.
Again, man, we appreciate you very, very much. We appreciate everybody else, your viewership and checking us out. We'll be back on again in 2 weeks for another one. You've got some balls.
Yes.
And we are out. Later, guys.